Today we're going to talk about buying and selling businesses. So the fact that you are here means that you either come every time we hold one of these sessions or that you're particularly interested in this. And there's a few different reasons you might want to buy or sell a business. So you might be looking at a competitor, or a competitor might be thinking about getting out of the business. And they approach you, or through networking, you strike up the conversation and find out that they're thinking about changing things up. And you might want to purchase that business, as opposed to letting someone else in your market take it on. Or you just might see the business value there of having that client list and providing those services. So that's one reason that you might be considering buying a business. Another reason might be that you're looking to diversify and you're looking to have a secondary business in some other industry not related to balloon decor. And another might be that you're looking to grow across cities. And so you've got your local balloon decor business, you're looking to grow that, you're looking to do that outside of your current geography. There's also some reasons you might be interested in selling. So you may have a portion of your business that you don't enjoy anymore. I've heard this before with yard cards, where someone got started with yard cards, they got into decor, they liked the decor better, they sold the yard card portion of their business to someone else. It might be that you're ready to move on and you're ready to not be doing decor anymore, or you're moving and so you want to sell the business because you don't think it makes sense to try to take it with you and take the name, since your whole client set is going to change anyway. So there's a lot of reasons you might be thinking about buying and selling. I'm going to take a few minutes and I'm going to talk about some important considerations for selling, and then I'm going to talk about some important considerations for buying. And then if you have any specific questions that are on your mind in this space, I'm going to have you chime in so that we can make sure we talk about those. And then we'll just we can dive in more to one or the other depending on where your interests are. So let's talk about selling first. I once met a business broker who works with businesses from 2 to 10 million in value. And the way she would introduce herself at networking events was, "Hello, my name is Sally, and I make grown men cry." And that makes you lean in. How do you make grown men cry? And then she would go on to explain that, that one of the very first things she did when she met with someone was explain to them that whatever they thought their business was worth, it was probably worth about half of that. And so she makes grown men cry. You work your life, you think about how much your business is worth, you think about selling it someday. But it takes a lot of work to have a business that's worth the amount you think it is. So when you're selling a business, it's really important to understand that it's not actually about the day the business sale closes and the transaction closes. It's something you're going to work on well before that. You need to prepare your business to be sold. So that's the very first stage of considering selling a business, is starting on the preparations. Your goal during preparations is to, number one, make it something that would be appealing to a buyer. And number two, increase its value. And so this preparation stage can last for 6 months. It can last for 3 years. The larger your business is, I would say that the longer the preparation stage often is. And the reason is because there's a lot of things that can be done to make your business more appealing to a potential buyer. In balloon decor, things like standard operating procedures and documentation about how the business works, having a bookkeeper and a CPA to handle finances. These are things that would make the business more appealing to a buyer, because all of those things are figured out and working. Having staff that handles fulfillment, having staff that handles sales, as opposed to it just being one person who does that, or the owner who does that. These are things that can make your business more appealing to a buyer. So this preparation step, and understanding that it's going to take some time, it's going to take some work, and that you can, during that preparation phase, you can substantially increase the value of your business. Like, this is what mentally you want to be thinking about. The value of your business, I find in balloon decor, it's really based on revenue, profit, and whether or not the owner is running everything or not. So revenue is going to be a product of however you have sales set up, right? So if the only thing you're doing is networking to generate sales, you're in a spot where it takes the owner to sell, and that's a less appealing place. If you're in a spot where you have phone calls coming in regularly, you have somebody working in at the phone, taking orders, helping people figure out their orders, things like that, you're going to be in a position where that business can scale a lot better. So the revenue is going to be impacted by a few things: how good the sales system is at your business. Another thing that impacts the value is the profit margin. At the end of the day, what is the owner taking home? So you might hear this called owner take. You might hear this called owner total compensation. There's a few different words for it among business brokers, but the idea is what's the owner's profit plus what's the owner's pay if owner's also on a salary. That's really the amount of money that the new owner is thinking about as far as their return on investment when they purchase. And so increasing revenue and getting revenue into a good spot and revenue generation into a better spot, that adds value. Looking at that owner take home amount, that adds value. And so this is then why you can see why this might take some time. So maybe this year you really work to get better at processes, get better at staff planning, reduce expenses so you can bring that net profit number up. But now you need to show a year or two of trajectory on that, hopefully getting better and better while you're also improving sales so that you have a nice upward track on the sales. You have a nice upward track on the net profit coming out of it and the owner compensation. And now your business is a lot more appealing, has a lot higher valuation. I think that's all I want to say about that. In Balloon Decor, there are so many good ways to build a sales system. There's so many good ways to build operating procedures and get staff in the door and figure out who to hire and what roles to hire. So that's, thinking about that, just understand that you should start thinking about that really, really early. And there's a concept in building businesses and selling them called built to sell. There's a book by the same name. It's very corporate, the book is, so I don't necessarily recommend you run out and you buy it or you grab it from the library, but it talks about how you can very intently build and run your business for the purpose of selling it later. You hear this called an exit strategy. What's your exit strategy? So that book was built to sell if you do want to go scope it out. But again, it is very corporate level kind of, public company level kind of book. The next part of this of selling your business is actually listing it for sale and finding potential buyers. I would say most businesses in Balloon Decor over 750,000 in annual revenue that I have been exposed to have used a business broker. Most Balloon Decor businesses under that typically do the deal direct, sometimes with an attorney, but not with a business broker. But this finding a buyer for your business is a really important and valuable task. And what you would like, just like if you were selling your house, you would like a bidding war to happen. So you would like to actually find multiple buyers. This is specifically what a business broker can help you with. They can actually help you with this prep stage as well. So if you can engage a business broker very, very early. And if you've ever heard the term investment bank before, I'm sure you've heard the term. You may not know that, you may not know what it's focused on, but an investment bank is a business brokerage. They're generally helping buyers and sellers connect, and they're typically large, businesses over 10 million in revenue, I would say, or 10 million in valuation. So an investment bank is really, you can think of it as a business brokerage. Investment bankers work with their clients for years leading up to the point at which they take it public that it's for sale. It's really, really common. And so you can think of a business broker the same way. Typically, when we say the word business broker, we're talking about somebody who works with businesses less than $1 million in valuation. But it's the same concept. The business broker, if they're good, they can also help you increase valuation. The business broker, one of the primary things that they're going to bring to the table is knowing people. Now, knowing people who might be interested in buying your business. In Balloon Decor, this is very difficult. And the reason I say this is very difficult, it's very difficult to find a buyer for Balloon Decor compared to most other industries, because generally when you're selling a balloon decor business, you're selling to someone who is going to come in and create decor. And that is a technical skill that someone has to be interested in. So that basically in the growth of your business, there's this point where you're going to start hiring staff. And there's this point where as the owner, you may be able to not actually be hands-on in operations anymore. If you get past that point, that big milestone, where as an owner, you don't have to be involved in operations and you have somebody who's managing your day-to-day builds and deliveries and installs, you substantially grow the value of your business, because now as a potential owner, so let's say Tabitha, you were thinking of selling, you called me, hey Jeff, do you know anybody? Let's say I was interested. I am not somebody who's going to be hands-on doing builds and installs and taking to parties and doing that. But if you're past that point and you've got people on your team who do that work, I'm now interested, right? I know the industry. I can go assess the market. I can see the financials. I can now be interested as a potential buyer in your business, because I'm not looking for a job. I'm not looking to do the work of Decor. I'm looking for a business to add to my portfolio. So in Balloon Decor, though, I find that since most of our businesses are smaller, we're not to that point where the owner isn't doing operations. It's a little harder to find a buyer. Well, it's a lot harder to find a buyer because you're looking for somebody who already knows how to do decor and can already build and create at the level that you are building and creating. So let's talk about finding people who might be interested for a minute. If you're going to do this yourself and you're not going to work with a broker, and we can unpack that for sure. If any of you are thinking about selling, I would love to have a conversation with you to share the experience I have and some guidance on that, since I know Balloon Decor so well. If you're trying to find someone to buy your business in Balloon Decor, and as an owner you are involved in operations, then I recommend that you start networking with other people who have Balloon Decor businesses to find out who is hungry and looking to grow. And those are people you might approach about doing this. If you're past that point where you're no longer dealing with operations, that's the point where working with a business broker can be really, really helpful, particularly a broker who knows the event industry, because a business that's already working in the events industry can add on Balloon Decor, or might have a Balloon Decor portion of their business and be happy to bring in your brand and what you're doing. When it comes to transaction time, so let's say we have potential buyers, a lot of times the next step will be what's called a letter of intent. It's basically an agreement between a potential buyer and a seller, where the buyer is declaring their interest and you're agreeing to essentially have an exclusive conversation for a period of time. You're also agreeing to confidentiality and any other terms associated with how long that might last, how long the potential buyer has to negotiate with you and do discovery. Discovery is the process of a potential buyer learning about your business and getting under the hood and understanding financials and staff and business risks and all these kinds of things, so that they can make a decision on what they think that the business is worth and what they would pay for it. If a letter of intent is successful, then the outcome of that is either the potential buyer walks away and is not interested, or you get into a financial negotiation. Sometimes you might have multiple interested buyers. Generally, there's only one letter of intent that's active at any one time, but you may have multiple depending on the agreement that you put together, and particularly if you have a business broker involved. But the letter of intent, its goal is to protect you as a seller, and it's for the buyer, for the potential buyer, it's to protect their interests and their time and their investment to understand your business, because they don't want, while they're investigating whether or not they want to buy and what they think it's worth, they don't want it to be sold out from under them. That's why that letter of intent might be in there. And then you typically have a purchase and sale agreement, which is next. Depending on the amount of money involved, you might then use escrow to actually do the business transaction. Often there's an attorney involved at this point as well on the agreement to make sure that as the seller, your interests are protected. And then you get to closing day, and depending on what you agreed to in your purchase and sale agreement, you might have all the money in your bank account and you might be going to the beach, or you might be still working in your business, because it may be that as part of that agreement, you've agreed to stay on as an employee for a period of time, or have some sort of responsibility. So that's an overview of the process and experience that you'll have on the sales side. I think I'll stop there. And if you have questions about selling, or you've been pondering selling, you could certainly ask them and we'll dig into that. And if not, we'll talk about buying.